As I have dove into this content, man, this is powerful stuff. This is game-changing stuff for everybody around us. It doesn't matter what industry, what business line, what's happening in their life. And so we should have some more people in here rather than just us. We should care enough about the others in our world that we invite them to come play along. So I'm going to challenge you guys. I don't care what company, what industry. Let's get them in here. Let's get them plugged in. And by all means, let's get them into this incredible content. So guys, as always, this is not Coach talking for 30 minutes. So those that know me know that I'm fully capable. I want to hear what you guys pulled out of the introduction, why he wrote this, and our first one more identity. Carrie, you're hot. What do you got?
I thought when I was reading the introduction, I was like, wait, is this the book or is this the introduction? I'm very impressed by the introduction and the whole book. I was just like, I took my highlighter and I'm like, oh shit, I'm just gonna highlight the whole damn thing. I'm like, okay. So I'm really excited about it.
So do me a favor.
Yeah.
Jump into that intro, page 1, 2, just right there, man. What did you highlight? What jumped off the page that you're like, wow, this speaks to me?
Okay. Everything. This kind of stuff is like my sweet spot, remember?
I still want you to grow everybody else by sharing.
You were not born to be average or ordinary. You were born to do something great with your life. And then the thing that hit me was, I know this about you. First of all, that's something I say. And second of all, yeah, 50,000 million%. I know this about you. I know this about you and you and you and you. You know what I mean? Like that was amazing to me. So what other things do I have? On page 4, I had the good coming from all of this is the good coming from all of this is that it reinforced my belief people can dramatically change their lives. I saw it firsthand from watching how much my father changed over the years, and his father was an alcoholic.
Yeah. All of us have the opportunity, and this content's going to guide us in that direction. And I also loved on page 2, most times the answers are relatively simple. This ain't complex stuff that we're getting into, guys. This is simple stuff that as we just turn on our RAS, as we look to that blind spot that shows up in the reading, it's going to accelerate us. Mary, I see your mic is on as well. What do you have?
Page 5. I apologize. My internet has always been awful here. It says, my goal for the power of one is to help you identify your talents, your gifts, and abilities, then maximize them for your own greater good. And what I liked about that is that we're not focusing on the things we can't do. We're maximizing on the things that we can do, which is really important. And what I've learned is the things that I can't do or dislike, I've leveraged to other people. So I just focus on my talents and abilities.
Absolutely. You're leaning into what you're good at. So much of our life has been educated to look for what's wrong and improve that. And we know in our world, you lean in. So since you broke up a little, I want to reread that real quick, Mary, because identify your talents, gifts, and abilities, then maximize them for your own greater good and for the people around you. That's what we're looking to do together. And I just want to put one more on here from 4 and 5, because this was some of my favorite stuff. I've watched good friends and business associates chase what they think is fun at the expense of winning. And sadly, they became distracted and lose sight of just how good winning feels. And a great quote, winning is more fun than fun is fun. And it really is. And it's going to give you some more resources to have more fun. What else do you guys have?
Are we in the intro or chapter 1 as well?
The answer is yes. We're in both. Justin, what do you got, brother? And then Caesar, I saw you come on too. I'll hit you
There
next.
was so much good stuff in here. The identity piece. I really liked the trilogy of changing your identity, the faith, intentions, and associates. I stopped and I left that self confidence, the unifying factor. So that's the only thing I have left to do. But I kind of made this diagram for myself on that identity trilogy. And if I thought of my identity as like an axle or the center of the hub, and each of those things being like spokes, those experiences that we manifest based on the identity that we're having supports the beliefs and reinforces those experiences. So really seeing the identity shift. I think it was in here or something else similar I read over the weekend talked about people's needing to have a willingness to sacrifice the current identity to get to the bigger identity, or reluctance to, maybe. I don't know what
Well,
page
here it was right from page 8. Are you willing to sacrifice who you are for who you could be?
Love
This
that.
whole identity thing. I love this piece because I see so many people that I'll talk to, I'll work with, I'm coaching, and they will say, that's just who I am. You are not a flippin' tree. You can move, you can change, you can grow. In this entire chapter 1 is outlining, truly almost connecting to the attributes, 2 books ago, of these are the things that we get to plus and improve. You guys get to become better so you can do better things and have a better life. And that's what this entire chapter outlines with lots of nuggets. So, Caesar, your mic was hot. Let's get you back in. Josie, I saw you were there. And Ryan, I also see you. So I've got my list.
Thanks, Coach. I just wanted to bring page 10 and tying all this together as well. It says, your identity is the force that governs your life and regulates your results. And then to tie it into page 8, it says, what we perceive about ourselves is what we believe about ourselves. So it's all about this identity piece. And we've brought this, I remember you did a training exercise back in our old training where you would ask somebody what they wanted to make. And then are like, are you okay making this amount? And you're like, yes. And then are you okay making this amount? So it really was like that thermostat and the identity was really at this level, not really at that $500,000 or whatever goal that they were. And then lastly, to page 5, it says, in fact, the more worthy a goal and the more changes you go through to reach it, the more resistance you'll encounter like to get to it. So expect that and plan for it. So that's another one that we have to realize that as we're reaching these higher levels, it's going to get not difficult, challenging, and right. And from what Jim Rome always, I hear his voice is you don't want it to be easy. You want to be better, something along those lines. So that's always as well, expecting and planning that it's going to be challenging. And so when we expect it and plan for it, it won't be as challenging, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I truly appreciate that Jim Rohn quote. We don't want things to be easier. We want to be better. So we can take care of, we can handle the things. This is us improving. And I really appreciate it as you brought in, I think it was page 10 on the thermostat. We always talked about the financial thermostat where you were related to money. And I just love how he's taken it now and made it your identity thermostat on anything. And it made me think we all have a relationship thermostat. What we deserve in a partner, in a relationship, in a spouse. We all have, those of us that are parents, a parental thermostat of where we're playing there. We have, all these different pieces of our identity that we can adjust if we so choose going into this. Josie, I had seen your mic hot, and then Ryan, you're coming in after her.
Good morning. The chapter 1 and the introduction was phenomenal. I'm so excited to read this book. There was a lot here that I could relate for myself personally, but one thing on page 2, the power of one more challenges you to become hyper-focused and addicted to searching for the one mores in your life. Just doing one more thing and really taking action can really change whatever you're trying to accomplish. And I could really see just from the book and how that can really impact you somehow.
Well, think about that here on this whole one mores. Because we talked about, last week, one more phone call. Imagine on every single thing that comes up, you took a pause when you were about to stop and you just went one more. In the gym, for those that are doing the health stuff, one more rep. When you haven't finished your water, going back to the health stuff we're working on, your daily dose of water. So before bed, you're going to take one more, just maybe not hit the goal, but one more. And it could change your life. Ryan, what do you got, brother?
The thing that I get is like, man, would you change who you are now for who you need to become or who you want to become? Man, that's some powerful stuff, people. Like, I feel that to my core, because, like, if I'm staying the same, because that's telling you that you're complacent. Like, oh, I'm good enough the way I am. Dude, that we all have stuff to work on. To me, why are you so arrogant that you are perfect the way you are? Like, we can all be better. Like, I have a health goal that I have to work on. I want to walk my daughter down the freaking aisle when she's 10. I need to be there for her. Like, if you don't have that passion, like me, I'm tearing up right now thinking about that kind of stuff. Get it through what you want to do and go get it, because the only person holding you back is you. Man, love this stuff. I listen to Ed Milet. Like, I watch his podcast. I am so excited that we're in this book. Thank you for bringing this to our mindset group.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. And thank you for bringing the energy on this to this group, as you always do, about implementing. Doing actually the things we're going to learn over the next 3 weeks. Putting them in your life. Miss Jeanette, you're up, my dear.
I appreciate the biggest challenge most of us have is identifying when we're self-sabotaging. So it takes some time, and it takes quiet time to understand, maybe going back through something that didn't go the way you wanted, or, where identifying the self-limiting beliefs. And then I appreciate if somebody hasn't read it on page 19, he gives a strategy for you to destroy the self-sabotage, the discouragement, and the doubt. I'm going to throw something else in there, just one higher. I really appreciate this about self-confidence. I really appreciate this, but I've got a higher place now than I ever used to have. And I call it God confidence. I know I am seeing firsthand who God is calling people to be, and the qualities that he's making us with. There is no junk, nowhere, no how. There is, and it's something that's hard to express. There's a couple people here who know what I'm talking about. So I have learned, when I have God confidence and recognize where I'm sabotaging myself, and there's a level of self-confidence, but if I have confidence in who God made me to be, now that I understand more about what that is, my self-confidence doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, because God made me to be so much more. So I get to learn more about who that is and how to be that person. And it's empowering, and it's wonderful to empower others, and confirm each other.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely. And I want to dive deep onto these sections of books, because what you're bringing in ties in with Justin on this trilogy of changing your identity, because not everybody in here has the book in front of them. And the very first one is faith. And what Jeanette's talking, that that my self-confidence doesn't matter. I would just say it comes from that faith, and nothing moves mountains quite like faith. And in Ed's language, and I love this, bolded on page 14, as part of my faith, I believe that I come from the most extraordinary DNA in the world, God's DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And I put this in the room before for all of you. My belief, my faith is that every single one of you arrived on this planet as a perfect, wonderfully designed being of light. You are a 1 in 6 million, or 6 billion, choice when it comes to how the DNA happened. It wasn't random. He was selected. And as an extension of this, I also believe that God did not make me in his image to live at 75%. My God, and your spiritual deity too, created all of us to live a full faith-based life at 100%. You get to play all in. Had a great conference this morning with a young man talking about playing all in. That's what we get to do here. Mark, and then Dorothy.
So on page 18, it says, when you self-sabotage, you dial down your thermostat and deny yourself the bliss that was headed into your life. And down at the bottom of 19, it says, here's an exercise. And it goes back to Ryan says every time he gets on the call, it's implementation. So he's given us a tool on how to fight those negative thoughts. And this is what he says. Here's an exercise I use to destroy self-sabotage and discouragement and doubt. Now, we all would think this guy would never have that, right? All of a sudden, he's a superstar. The guy's jacked up. He's got the most amazing family, right? We would never think that he has those. But he's telling you, I go through this just like you. And here's what I do to overcome those. Pay attention to when you have a self-sabotaging thought. I mentally record that thought. Then I visualize it and see myself scratching it out. Like I was talking to Don one time. He said, when you have those self-sabotaging thoughts, you got to stop and write that down right then and there. And then you've got to reframe that right then and there. You got to catch it. And that's what he's telling us to do. So he's not just saying I'm wonderful, I'm perfect. He's saying I go through the same crap that you guys go through. And here's some of the things that I do that you can probably implement in your life right now. There's another verse that Russ so eloquently started talking about as far as God. And the verse says, we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. And what that means is we're taking that negative thought and we're saying, oh, hell no, that is not us. I reject that thought. That is not me. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to scratch it out and it's not going to come up again. It will. And when it does, we're going to say, get the heck out of here. I'm not going for that. That is bull crap. That is not of God. That is not helping me. I'm getting that out of here. And we may do that 6 or 7 times a day, but that's how we get that crap out of our life. And we must not forget that. That's implementation at its best.
And we can utilize what other people give us. That's what's called leverage, right? Mark, Ed gave it right here, line by line, how to do it. And so step 1 of that process, those guys, is to acknowledge that is a self-sabotaging thought. Great quote on the page before that I just adore. Optimism might make you successful, but pessimism will ensure you don't succeed. Okay? So the optimism piece, somebody, oh, you're looking at life through rose-colored glasses. You're damn right. I'm going to keep thinking of what's possible. And yes, we may fall short. We may have failures, learning opportunities. Things may come up that don't work out right, yet we don't buy in that that's the way it's always going to be, because if we do, it's guaranteed to be that way. You keep living that life by design that you desire and lean into that. And when things happen, they're just speed bumps. They're not stopping points. Dorothy, you were up, and then Carrie, I see you're right after.
This is following on with what Jeanette said, and I'll try to be brief. I had a bicycle accident in 2009 with a bunch of broken bones and a brain injury that made the entire left side of my brain blood. 5 brain specialists at Massachusetts General Hospital said, we don't understand how you're standing up. So be careful. You could end up in an institution quadriplegic and drooling for the rest of your life. My knee-jerk reaction was, you guys better take notes. And immediately I thought, what? Who said that? I said, you know who said it, girl. You got work to do. Anyhow, along with everything else, there was a nonstop prayer. Thank you, God, for my perfect health. Was I telling God what to do? Ha ha, no, of course not. I wasn't begging, oh, please, God. I was saying, thank you, God. Just knowing that he could do that and would in his good time. It took 5 years, and hello, I'm not quadriplegic or drooling or in an institution. And sometimes I forget that actually happened to me, but I think it happened for a reason, because I changed after that. I became a much more compassionate human being. All the
Well,
time.
let's bounce back though to the piece of what occurred and what you dealt with it, because there were experts all around you who told you how it was going to be, and you chose to say no. You didn't listen to their pessimistic chatter. You stayed optimistic. Man, we used to, back in the late 80s, Zig Ziglar created a movie called The Miracle Man, which is a true story of a guy in the early 80s, broke the top, was in a plane wreck, and broke the top 2 vertebrae of his neck and couldn't even control his own breathing, digestion, everything. Was told that he could hear the doctors telling his wife he wasn't going to make it. And he said, well, guess again. And he went through mental exercise of, I'm going to work this through. I'm going to survive. God's got my back. And then once he got stabilized, well, he's never going to breathe on his own. So he started going through exercise in his mind and through his physicality of what was there, and got control of his own breathing and got the able to speak. And finally, in talking to a physician who said, okay, this is your life. No. Well, what's your plan then? I'm going to walk out of this hospital on my own power. And time again, just like Dorothy, he didn't buy into the story and he walked out. He actually walked back in and shook that doctor's hand. It's kind of the close of the movie. Here's the cool part about it, Dorothy, like you said. Not only did you maybe become more compassionate, you just changed the perception of what's possible in every one of those experts' minds. When you guys stop buying into the limiting beliefs, the story of what you can't do, and all of a sudden you do it. Kim, man, love Kim. I am not seeing her on the screen today. Last week, she was telling everybody she's got double-digit listings in this terrible market, which, by the way, means every one of you can do the same thing. Together, you get a lead. We get to help change people's perceptions, and it ties right into that association piece of the 3 tiers. So what else you guys have? I saw Carrie next up. I saw your mic. Yeah, I'm writing them down. Getting better at this.
Yeah, I was writing down. So what I was going to say about earlier, when the brain, it's science. It's not like people, it's just magic, or like quote unquote magic, right? The brain truly doesn't know the difference between what you see and what you tell it. So that's why it's so important for you to be able to control your thoughts or visualize, like he was talking about. Remember, he was saying talking about scratching out. Or people say visualize what it is you want, or how do you want to see it happen? Because scientifically, and I can't give you all of that, but scientifically, the brain really doesn't know. So we need to teach it, just like we need to teach others how to treat us. We need to teach our brain what to think and what we want, and therefore quote unquote manifesting, or praying or whatever, to become who you desire, and in my opinion, by God, who God wants you to be, who God intended you to be. But so that's just my 2 cents. And then I was going to say, it's so important for confidence, right? Like your thoughts are building into the confidence. So the more you have do those types of things, and you build your confidence. And if you don't have confidence, that's just like your thoughts. They're just bad ones will come in because it's just natural to be learning like that. So confidence is the utmost important. I learned that. And I think that like I try to do that with my kids as much as possible because we all know what the opposite is. We've all experienced that.
Well, you just tied something great together for me, Carrie, and thank you for that. Because I'm always telling you guys, as part of our mantras, you teach people how to treat you. Well, Carrie's absolutely, you teach yourself how to treat you too. I mean, of all the people that chatter around you, who speaks the worst to you? It's always yourself. And Carrie's giving you a nugget here of let's close that chatter. Let's use Ed Milet's tools to do it. What else you guys have?
Oh, I have one thing
Go
with the
Caesar.
self-confidence, Coach. On page 17, self-confident people share one habit in common, and that is the ability to keep the promises they make to themselves. So I've realized this in my own life. When I say I'm going to do something and then I do it, it like reinforces my own self-confidence because I'm like, oh, I said what I was going to do. So like it's this cycle that happens. And then when you see the results, again, I take this to working out. Like you go, you do it, you don't see the results right away, but once you start seeing the result, it's like this like snowball effect that starts happening. So, but I wanted to share that where it's like the self-confident people, the ability to keep the promises they make to themselves.
Important piece, man. I always talk about, in fact, I had a young man write down this morning as we were coaching, be your word. And, I asked him, who have you let down? And, he's talking about people he hasn't let down. Well, just this week, have you told yourself you're going to do something and you didn't do it? And he had to be authentic and honest and admit, yes. Here's a great tool Caesar's put in front of you just to practice, which means two things. You're going to practice: one, doing what you say you're going to do, and two, more importantly, not overcommitting to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We do our accountability in the morning of how many conversations we're going to have. That's an hour before this call right here in the Renegade Room. And a lot of people will be totally authentic and say, I'm going to have one conversation today. Maria, absolute goddess of that. She had her family in town. She said, one conversation today. That's all I'm committing to. Now, she normally did 4 or 5, even though that was her commitment. Yet no matter what, she was living her word. In every moment, she was living her word. So I'm looking for you guys to start doing that today. As we know, we are all paid in direct proportion to the number of conversations we have. We have got call time this afternoon, 2 to 5 Central, where you guys can come in, be around your fellow partners in this room, having your conversations. 3 power hours, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. That you can show up, be a part of one or multiple power hours, and just do the work because you're all paid in direct proportion to the number of conversations you have. So make a commitment today to us, to yourself, to at a minimum show up for one of those hours and watch what happens to your business as you do that. And I'm going to give you one more nugget. When you think you're done at 4 or 5 or whatever time you say you're going to stop, what does Coach want you to do? One more, baby.
One more.
Yep. All right, man. Love you guys. Glad you're here. I am jumping on to my next coaching call.